Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's installments of the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a great night. Thanks so much for spending part of it here with me. Hope your Monday went well. It was Monday, wasn't it? I hope that positive thinking exercise that hopefully you guys used from last night worked out pretty well. I forgot to start the Ghost app here. So let me do that quickly. All right. Boom. There. So if anything creepy comes across, we should know about it, as long as it fits a very specific criteria of electromagnetic parameters. But otherwise, it goes off every once in a while, and it's kind of interesting. So again, full disclosure, I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in this thing, but it's definitely kind of a weird little program. I think it's doing something. Again, I think that, magnetometers can detect EMF fields and changes. That goes without saying, but a computer magnetometer is very specifically tuned for wireless networks and things like that. So it doesn't have a full robust range like a handheld EMF meter might. But we'll see what comes up, if anything. The word database I'm really the most not convinced about, more than anything, when it throws up words that just seem just random for the most part. There doesn't seem to be any correlation usually with anything of substance, but you never know. I keep an open mind. And like I said, it's a conversation piece, so we got that going for us. I should scoot in a little bit here, but I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. All right, so we are now underway. That's it. The intro video has gone, and we are engaged here on the SS Paranormal Portal as we embark on our journey through the abyss of the realms of the veil and the unknown. So, not even sure that made a whole lot of sense, but it sounded good in my head. So I went with it. I rolled with it, and you guys got to hear it anyway. So let's see. I got a bunch of stories pulled up, but before I do, please know the phone lines are always open here on the portal. You can call in at any time if you have something that you believe is something that you'd like to share on the show. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And special thank you to everyone who's been checking out our podcast. It's going pretty well. It's great. Let's see who's in here so far. Again, I'm using the fractured, disjointed list that's given to me on YouTube, so I can only see the names that is popping up. But let's go through this. Armand Adams is in here. Aussie Tiger Rockstar Fams. Beth Fierce. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Black Tree is in here. Hi, Julia. Where you been? I missed you. I hope you had fun. Duke is in here. Brian Sullivan. Cha-Cha is in here. Chris Guy is in here. Elaine Clifford. Josh Jacobs. Ken Christian. Lewis is in here. MCAT. Noli. 420. And Rivers is in here. So if I didn't give you a shout out, it's because they didn't give me your name, but I'm just looking here. Consquatch. Consquatch. That's a cool name. Consquatch. It almost sounds like a Sasquatch, but it belongs to Con, I guess. Anyway, welcome to the show. Good to see you. That's a new name. I've not seen that one before. I did say you, Cha-Cha. You can only get one. Everybody gets one. So, oh, hey. Well, I'm all for self-promotion, Tony. Tony says, Tony Merkel's in here. You dick, but I love you anyway. Brent is the only guy that stands right next to another guy at the urinal and says, dude, you got to check my podcast out. I think that it's important to just promote yourself wherever you can. I try to be at least tasteful. I'm not looking when I say that, just for what it's worth. I do keep a little sense of propriety there. That's awesome. The man has no shame, damn it. All right, so that's a good start. Cha-Cha's being needy. Yeah, Cha-Cha, she's got a no shame and self-promotion, yeah. Yep. I could, I suppose, just rent the space above the urinal instead, but, got to start somewhere. I'll just do it. Word of mouth, they say, is the best promotion. So I just figure I'll go in there and spread it by word of mouth. Anyway, let's get going here on the show tonight. We, of course, have stories pulled up to hopefully entertain you. All right, so let's see what stories I got going here. First one tonight is coming out of Michigan. Oh, I suppose I should let you know about that email. If you want to email your stories in, you don't want to call in, you're a little nervous about talking on the air, then please just email in your stories. Let me know in the story that you email whether or not you want to be identified or how you'd like to be identified. Being anonymous is perfectly fine. You don't need to be exposed if you would choose not to be. But paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So there's an option there. But let's get into this and see what's going on. Merkel, you bastard, I love you. Oh, my God. Awesome. All right. So, first one, Michigan. I started working at an assisted living facility in June of 2004. I worked the second shift from 2 to 10, and there were 2 units in this 40-bed facility, and Unit 1 was for patients who needed assistance with everyday needs. Unit 2 was the unit that I worked all the time, the Alzheimer's dementia unit. Most nights, I'd be assigned to the unit alone. At the time, there were only 10 rooms filled out at the 20 rooms total. A year had passed and more patients moved into the facility and staffing really grew. And on most days, there were 2 staff members assigned to both units. During a 3-month period of time, we were short-staffed and I was working that whole area all by myself, and this really never bothered me. The building at the time was only a few years old, but many deaths had occurred since the opening of the facility. Working alone, you would always catch a glimpse of something moving out of the corner of your eye. Lights would be on in rooms that were unoccupied. The call light system, which sounded an alarm in the nurse's station when a patient needed help, would go off in rooms that were completely unoccupied. And these were normal occurrences. That didn't bother me. On one particular night, I was assigned to the unit alone, and there was nothing new to me. I just accepted it and went about my duties. And in one room in general, the lights came on several times throughout the night, and I'd always go in and shut them off. And after multiple times of this, I just finally ignored them. After a couple hours passed without me shutting the lights off, the call light went off in the room. I went in and shut them off, all of them off. And after that, they went off again. And this time I was getting a little bit scared. And I walked over to the other unit and told them about what was happening. And 2 other staff members and myself walked down to the room and shut everything off. And my coworker announced to whomever was doing this to just stop it immediately. My coworkers went about their duties in their other unit. And an hour before my shift was up, I was standing in the nurse's station drawing up some insulin for a 9 p.m. dose for a patient, and the call light went off. And assuming it was someone who needed help, I finished drawing up the insulin and turned around to see which room had pulled the cord. To my surprise, it was room number 126, the same room that had been pulling it all night long. I called over the other unit, and the same 2 staff members came over, and together we walked down to the room to turn the lights off for what we hoped to be the last time that night. When we entered the room, it felt at least 20 degrees colder, and we walked into the living area, shut the call light off, followed by the bedroom and the bathroom, and when we turned around, we noticed that all the cupboard doors in the kitchen were being swung open. This caused my coworkers to scream, and we all ran from the room. The administrator of the building was called, and she in return called the owner of the building, and he said that it was all just parts of our imagination. A couple nights passed, and still lights went off and on spontaneously in the room, and one night in particular, a patient was walking up and down the hallway acting really agitated. And I noticed her walking to the end of the hallway and peering into the window of the room that had all the oddities happening, and when asked why she was staring into the room, she turned to me and in a cold voice stated she wanted to join in on the party. This woman had Alzheimer's disease, so she could not have known what was happening whatsoever. That same night during shift change, we had a total of 6 staff members doing rounds, checking on every patient to make sure that they were all okay. While in the hallway of 126, we started feeling a strange vibration coming from the floor. The building was fairly new, and the flooring underneath the carpeting was cement. And we found it odd to feel such a vibration. As we continued to get closer to the room 126, we noticed the vibration was turning more into a shaking type of feeling. The pictures on the walls were rattling, and the signs next to the door containing patients' names were also rattling. It felt as if there was a minor earthquake, which is impossible in Michigan. Actually, it's not. I lived in Michigan for a period of time, and there was an earthquake there, believe it or not. And as soon as the door to 129 was opened, which is the room number of the woman who stated she wanted to join the party, the rambling stopped. This event was enough to make the 6 of us want to quit. Our administrator took it upon herself to call a local church who came in and blessed the room. A Bible was placed in the room, and even though this all took place, strange occurrences have been happening. Televisions will turn on, radios turn on, the Bible will now even close on its own. There is no explanation to why these things are happening, but we do know that the spirits in the building are very much alive. Ooh, that's a good story. That's a good one. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to put together a show on just nursing and facility type of care units. Just stories from those, because I think they're so interesting. And quite honestly, if there's a profession where you're probably going to bump into some hauntings and some confused spirits, it's definitely in like, nursing homes or extended care facilities like that. Because there's a lot of sadness and a lot of confusion, a lot of tragedy. And when these people pass on, if they don't figure out to go to the light, they're kind of stuck. If there is a light, and I'm just guessing that there is, but you know what I'm saying? It's like they're just not in their right mind. So let's get to a call here and find out what's going on. This is area code 515. You're on the air.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Hey, MCAT. Good to hear from you, friend. How are you, bud?
Good. Been busy, but yeah, doing good.
Oh, excellent. What's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, just thought I'd call in, talk to you for a bit. Haven't been around for a while just because I've been so darn busy, but I got the night here, so figure I'd call up and to see how you're doing.
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Things are rolling really well for the portal, and always on the upward swing, I guess, going uphill. I don't know what the right way to say this is. Things are going well. How are they for you?
Well, that's good. Yeah, you're experiencing the Pareto distribution effect, so that's good.
I guess so. Whatever you just said, that's what we're experiencing. So, how's things for you? Are you getting any investigations in while you're rolling around?
No, I haven't gotten any investigations that I'd like to do more than I have done. I really do want to get one in before the summer's over. But it's just every time I get home, there's always something to do, or somebody's got to move, or somebody's, hey, what are you doing? I need help with something.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that's the way it always works. It definitely does. There's an old saying.
That's the way it always works.
There's an old saying: if you wanna find someone that'll help you whenever you need it, don't find the guy that's sitting around doing nothing. Find the busiest guy, and he'll always make time for you. And that sounds like you, brother.
I've worked in places that kind of thing, oh, hey, this person doesn't want to do your job. You're doing all this extra work here. Why don't you pick up his slack? Yeah, I'll get right on that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, right. No, I understand.
Meanwhile, I'm going to go find this guy out in a parking lot.
Have a quick blanket party.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to this guy. Listen, pal, you're for pulling weight around here.
That's right.
Anyway, I've been thinking about. I'm always well, I research, but I'm thinking about some of these things,
Hmm.
and I was thinking about poltergeists. I don't think they're their own thing.
Okay. So
I
you
think
did.
just like shadow people, I think that's spirits that are acting out for whatever reason. Now, that may be short why they're short duration because it requires a lot of energy to act out in that way, and that energy doesn't last forever.
Hmm.
It's gotta there's a finite amount of it that they can use. But I think that's what that is. I mean it's one of those labels that's been thrown around and people kind of treat it like, and like I said before, I think I said this on a podcast, where people kind of treat spirits as this one dimensional thing and that's all they are. And I don't buy that for a second. I think poltergeist now falls into that same thing where for
So.
whatever reason spirits get set off at something and just act out. And the
Mhm.
reason I think that is because people do that.
Sure. Well, that's a good point. Now, what you're saying though is that you don't believe it's a projection necessarily of a living person, but you believe that it's a spirit that's just for some reason or another just chosen to snap and just go wild. Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Now I'm yeah, I think that's right. Uh, I would be interested in finding a way to test to see if it's a living person or not, and I'm not even sure how we would go about testing for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to be honest with you. I have a hard time with that explanation too. I don't discount it outright, but for that to be the case, the person would have to have some really incredibly powerful latent psychokinetic abilities for them to be manifesting that on an unconscious
Yeah,
level.
yeah, some kind of some latent PK ability where they're able to do all these things. I don't totally buy that as an explanation. Now, that could very well be part of the process, or
Hmm.
maybe it's part of the trigger.
Mm.
I'm not sure, but these are things that we have to try and figure out, and we have to develop ways to test for it.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be great. Unfortunately, they're so rare. Now, I mean, there can be active haunts, but let me just ask you this because sometimes there seems to be this really indeterminate area of definition between an aggressive haunting and a poltergeist haunting. How do you differentiate which is which, or do you have a criteria in your mind of how to differentiate those?
I think that your typical poltergeist is going to be like almost an everyday occurrence. At least from what I've seen, it's usually an everyday occurrence for a couple of months,
Okay.
and then it's going to die down because that energy level can't be manifested for longer than that time period. It has
Mm-hmm.
to be regenerated.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. But then an aggressive haunt would just be like one evening things just go crazy and then they're done.
Yeah, I think most aggressive haunts are going to be a couple of times a night, maybe in a month. Well, not a couple of times a night, a few times a month, maybe in
Okay.
a month. You know, uh, 10 to 15 times. Whereas a poltergeist, or what we would call a poltergeist, would be more an everyday kind of a thing.
Sure. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's great. I think that you're onto something there. I would love to figure out how to research that too, but you're right. It's such a rare phenomenon when it does happen, and like everything else with the paranormal, you just don't know when, where, or how it's going to happen. It just happens, and normally nobody's ready for it.
Yeah, which is why I really try and push the idea of logging onto people, that you have a pen and a notepad, and when something happens, write down the date and time approximately when it happened.
Hmm.
So we can start to generate some data as far as how often this kind of things occur, because unless they're doing that, we just don't really know.
Right. Yep, very true. Very cool. I'd love to be a part of that if that was possible, but if you figure this out, you definitely you got to let me know because I want to know. I want to know what you got into.
I don't know if I'm going to figure out. I just hope that I'm starting to ask the right questions. So we'll see.
Amen, brother. I hear you. I hear you. But yeah, you got to get an investigation in before the end of the season here. Well, I mean, unless you like investigating in the cold.
No, not particularly. I got to
Sure.
live in the cold as is, and you know, investigating outside in the cold is not going to be a fun time. So I got to try and get time. I know I'm going to visit. I'm going to visit some family gravestones in Wisconsin the
Hmm.
next time I go home. So I'll probably do some record. It's not going to be a full investigation, but I'll do some recording and see if anything shows up.
Now that brings up a great question that I have as well. What do you think it is about the graveyards? Do you think? Yeah, I have trouble believing that spirits are going to spend all their time where all these dead bodies are. But what is the attachment? Is it just because mortal remains are in graveyards and sometimes those energies have an attachment to them, or what do you think goes on there? Because it seems like a pretty.
No, I don't. I don't think that the spirits stay there, but
Uh-huh.
because they have the ability to move, or that um, uh, from watching Steve Huff, it appears that you can call for one, and they'll try and locate that person and bring them in.
Oh, okay, okay.
He's actually had that happen. Now, if that's real, I'm going on that that's probably real. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a internet show, so I don't know. But some of the evidence he has is pretty interesting. Well, he'll ask for somebody, and then voices will come in. Yeah, we're getting him,
That's
which
quite.
is like
Yeah,
that just blows me away. Like what?
yeah. That is strange. Makes you wonder what's going on over there. I don't know. I don't understand for sure.
It certainly does.
Yeah, very
So yeah,
cool.
I don't think they're there, but I think that people being there acts like some kind of trigger where maybe somebody that knows that person or spirits are around there that maybe know that person, they're getting somebody else in, or you're there at a particular grave and maybe they just know to get that person.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, I suppose maybe they just see the energy follows intention, etc., etc. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
very cool. Well, I hope that goes well for you. If you get any EVPs, if they're not too personal, I'd love for you to share them.
Oh yeah, I'll send a your way if I get anything.
I think I'm going to go out tonight and do some looking at the night sky with the night vision goggles and or the binoculars and the GoPro and see if I can find anything tonight. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, but I've been so exhausted by the time it comes to bedtime. But it's like, well, it's summer. I should be out there doing it. It's now's the time. So I think tonight after it gets dark, I'm going to head out in the
All
yard.
right.
So,
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. You should do that.
well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But it's always a pleasure to hear from you, man. And if you're ever in the neck of the woods, again, when you get out this way, give me a holler.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If I get up to, I get up there in that North Idaho area, I'll give you a call.
All right, sounds great, brother. I'll be waiting for you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, good night, MCAT. Thanks for calling.
All right. You bet. Bye.
Excellent. Good to hear from MCAT. It's been a long time. He hasn't been around. He has not been around. All right, and we have one more phone call here, and this is Miss Diane. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Okay, I'm calling to back up MCAT.
Okay.
Uh, and the reason is because I did relate this on your show about the poltergeist that I took care of up here, the one that was on the news on Channel 8.
Uh-huh.
And they had two different people try. They had a priest, and then they had a Wiccan priestess, and they get rid of this thing. it turned out it was the spirit of a dead Native American who was very, very angry.
Oh.
And yes, so now I had also been told, had read the yada yada about this being, maybe a young kid attached to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Their theory was, I even forget the theory, but no, go ahead.
No, I'm not saying anything. I just said, uh-huh. I said, yep.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to
No,
listen
you're
because
doing wonderful. I'm really proud of you.
I'm trying to listen.
I'm really proud of you.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, really. I'm so embarrassed about that.
No, please
And
don't
when
be.
when I listen back to the shows, I'm there going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
My connection's really bad. Just so you know, it looks like
Okay.
it looks like it's something's hiccuping in the internet here. So I'm not sure what's going
That
on.
does surprise me. I have had so much stuff go on like that. There's been so much like that. But anyway, so this was actually, and what it took was somebody like me. I'm Native American too in my background, and I had to approach his spirit like he was actually insulted by the priest and the Wiccan priestess. It felt like he was insulted by that, and that's why it got worse both times. Is why are you sending this guy, and why are you sending this person?
Right.
And then I show up and I talk to him, and I just explain what's going on. That these people really don't even. It's been hundreds of years now, and it's been at least 100 years, and they don't even know what happened, and so you're punishing people that had nothing to do with it. And don't you think your family would like to see you? And just reasoned with him, and then it was oh, okay,
Yeah.
like here, this thing that had been causing them all kinds of grief all this time because he was angry and unacknowledged as what he was, and they were thinking he was a demon or he was, or all kinds of stuff, and they were treating him like that, and actually he was just a very angry, and I really couldn't even blame him because his land had been stolen and his family killed.
Wild.
He was angry. He was very angry, and angry that nobody was paying attention to him when he tried to tell him what was. I guess he had tried to tell people what had happened, and he was just acting out. And that area also had a sick land problem.
Oh.
And so it would gravitate to that.
So you're saying that you do agree that it's some sort of a vengeful spirit or angry spirit, not connected to a living person. But you've heard that description before, right? Of the prepubescent or pubescent girl generating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Gets blamed on the kid. Maybe in some cases it is.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it is some latent ability that is uncontrolled. Or maybe there is a spirit that has attached itself to that child. Or there could be a lot of other explanations. But I just know that I can tell you very definitively that this one that I handled around here was definitely not that. It was, in its own right, a spirit, and I agree with MCAT that this is probably the most likely explanation.
Yeah, I think so too.
It really makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I don't disagree with that. I think that there may be manifestations that are attached to a person, but it just seems to me that for that level of behavior to come out of a living person unconsciously, that seems it's got to be like nearly multiple personalities at that point, because that's just bizarre.
Well, the one thing that we did recently there are things that can get attached to children, no doubt about that.
Oh,
I
for
don't
sure.
think it's the child most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes it's something around the child that's gotten attached to the child if a child is involved.
Uh-huh.
It's something like the one that we did recently. I had to take something off of the child's teddy bear.
Oh, okay.
It looked like sort of a brown beige, or sort of a squid, an octopus or something.
Oh, I remember you.
And it tried to tell me it was a good thing, and I said, "No, you're not." Were
No.
you saying something?
I was going to say, I
Oh,
think
okay.
I think I remember you saying that story or talking about that story of the thing attached to the child's toy.
Yeah, and it was trying to shine me on that it was
Yeah.
something helpful or something because, Sean talks about toys that are, what did he call them? Enlivened and so on. And I suppose that can actually happen. I mean, we pour our energy into something, we can actually give it some sort of life, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I didn't feel that that's what was going on. I think this thing was actually attracting trouble. And it was slimy feeling, and you got to go with your gut. When you're doing this kind of work, you really got to go with your gut, as the end of it, because if you try to logic it all out, it's not going to be logical.
Right. Yeah.
Which is because I'm a person with this mind that's always going right, so it forces me to go into the feelings.
Absolutely.
So anyway, okay, well that's pretty much what. Oh, that and one other thing.
Sure.
I am more convinced than ever that it is true. We are in some kind of a temporal. We're caught in some kind of a temporal war because I just thought another gig we did, the Infinite Portal that we told you about that was occurring in more than one time.
Uh-huh.
That I tried to close and I couldn't close it because it was like a whole bunch of portals stretching back through time.
Oh.
That was really the weirdest thing I had ever seen.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Pretty intense.
Yeah. So I think maybe, yes, I think this might then be the truth because now I've heard it from more than one source that we're dealing with time travel. And if we're dealing with time travel issues, that would explain all the cryptids, all of the weird sightings and things out of nowhere. That would explain, or might explain, goes some ways to explain these things, all of these things that are very anomalous. Well, we could have parts plenty. We could have, all kinds of things show up where they shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And if we ever logically, well, here I'll go with logic. If we ever get time travel, then we always have time travel. Time travel will always exist. Therefore, if it is possible at all, we have time travel.
Okay.
Logically, we have time travel.
Sure.
So we must try to expand our minds enough to wrap our heads around this and don't ask me how exactly. I'm still working on it myself, but thank goodness I read a lot of science fiction when I was younger.
Well, there you go. Excellent.
Okay, love you guys very much.
All right, love you
I'm
too.
going to go shut up and lie down.
All right, well, we'll be
and
talking.
I'm waiting for...
You're waiting for what?
I'm waiting for you to talk in case you are.
Oh, yep, I was.
I'm trying. I think I need another phone.
You're doing great.
Okay.
All right, my dear. Have a good night.
Okay, bye.
All right. That was the 2 good calls right in a row. Good to hear from everybody. Thanks for calling in, MCAT, and thank you, Diane, for calling in. D for Diane for calling in. God, I was going to do something, and now I completely slipped my mind. I don't remember, but it looks like our connection is solid now. So, very good. Good to see you, Sacramento Paranormal Investigations. Thanks for coming in. Just came in the door. So, welcome to the show. I think you've been in here before, though, but I'm sorry, I have a dyslexia for names, and oftentimes I don't get much chance to look at the chat. So it's awesome to see new names when they pop up. And I saw Razor's in there. Relish Razor. Good to see you, my boy. Great that you're here as well. So, all right, the next one's coming from Arkansas. I knew I was going to do something. I just don't remember what it was. What? Twin Falls. Oh, Twin Falls. That's way down south. Bigfoot in Germany. Twin Falls, Idaho. Hand puppets, Brent. Hand puppets? All right, so continuing on, let's go to Arkansas and see what's going on there. I was going to talk about something, but I just don't remember what it is. I'm sorry. I've forgotten. To give a little background of what I'm it says of what I'm fixing to say. I love it. Fixing to say. I'm not making fun of it. I love accents. I love the, local, regional figures of speech. So it made me smile. Give you a little background of what I'm fixing to say. My little brother John contracted meningitis when he was 16 months old. The doctors had said he had a cold and sent him home, regardless of what my mother was trying to tell them. Oh. Within 24 hours, he was in the hospital and pronounced brain dead. That's such a heartbreaker. To make a long story short, I was really regretful that I didn't get to know him like my other siblings due to the fact that I haven't spoken to my family in 2 years, which at the time before he passed, I only seen John a few times and babysat him. So I was deeply grieved and felt guilty that I wasn't there for him. I should have let my bad communication with my mother affect my relationship with my siblings, all 9 of them. Whoa, that there's a family. Since the time he got taken off of life support, I was very depressed. And I asked God how he's doing, and I said I just want to talk to him and let him know how I feel and etc. Well, one day, about a week after his funeral, I got home from dropping my daughter off at school, and my son made a big mess of the refrigerator, 3 years old, and I was really irritated with him, so I sent him to his room, and I went to my room afterwards and laid down, and I don't remember going to sleep. I was laying there, then all of a sudden, I felt a heavy pressure on my chest. Then it was like I was watching a film clip of my brother playing with his cars, and he was looking at me and grinning. He was in his diaper, just doing baby stuff, but it seemed as though he was looking at me. I started crying, telling him that I was sorry I wasn't there and that I loved him and asked him to forgive me, and then I felt as though he told me he loved me and not to cry anymore. And then it was over, just like that. I felt God was really answered my prayers and let me make peace with him and my brother. Ever since then, my guilt has been gone. But I told my mom about this, and she asked what was he wearing. And I told her the cars he had, and she said those were his favorite cars. The clothes he had on were the clothes he used to wear. Thanks for reading. I tried to make this short. What a sweet story. What a horrible, sad thing, though. I know doctors are always trying to do the best they can in the most cases. I've had great doctors, amazing people that really put themselves out there and are really working for their patients to, do the best they possibly can. And I've also had just these jerks that are just so in love with their own title and they don't listen to you. And I've had both kinds, and the kind that are just in love with themselves are just so frustrating because, we may not know medical terminology, medical science and stuff, but we just know when something's wrong, when something's really wrong. And that arrogance that plays into those situations sometimes is so maddening because, they just don't, some doctors don't give people the credibility that they deserve and, give them any respect in that matter. So if they would have paid attention, this little child could still be here today, or older child now, I guess. But in any case, a life was lost because nobody listened. And that to me is just such a heartbreaker. So I don't know what it would feel like. And I pray to God I never know what it would feel like to feel that kind of betrayal, of bringing my child in to get help and being ignored. I don't know. Oh dear God, my heart just goes out to that woman and that family, all of them. That would be just terrible. So, let's go to Nevada and see what's going on there. This one has to do with the possessed cat. Okay, this ought to be fun. So I'm about to tell you something that happened, which I believe to be my very first ghost experience. Oh, we got another call. Oh, let's get to the call here. I'm sorry, we can come back to the story afterwards. But hello, caller 49484. You're on the air.
Hey, man, it's Tony Merkel.
Hey, brother, how you doing? Are you here to bash?
Good, man.
Yeah. You started my show off with a bang.
No. I would say this, man. Like, I made that joke in the beginning, but I'm the guy that makes Instagram videos in the men's bathroom. No joke. Because I drive truck and stuff, and trucker bathrooms are disgusting. So when I'm in a nasty trucker bathroom, I make a video of it. And the last one I made on my Instagram, I actually had a coworker with me in there, and I made a video with him and me in the bathroom talking about how nasty it was. And I was thinking to myself, this probably doesn't look very good, but I don't care.
Oh, wow. No, that's cool. I thought it was hilarious, though, man. Thanks for that joke. That just made my night.
Well, I saw that very thing as a meme online. It's like you see this like row of like 20 urinals, and there's one guy standing there peeing, and another guy walks over to him, and he's like, "Hey, man, you should check my podcast out." And it floats around in the podcast forums and stuff, and that's why I said that.
That was hilarious. Awesome. It was a good chuckle, man. Thank you.
I got a story I'd like to share with you. And it's kind of fitting a little bit just with the girl was saying on that previous story. Not really, I guess. But anyways, so I had something happen in my house on Saturday that I wouldn't say was paranormal, but more supernatural. And I was taken away by it. So I was sitting there getting ready to do an interview, and my brother was coming over because we did a live show for members on a Saturday night. Oh. And he had come down to help produce the live show. Mm-hmm. And just as I connected with my guest that I was going to be interviewing, I heard my brother coming up the stairs. So I said, "Jack, come on inside." And so he came in, he pulled up a chair and pulled up a microphone, and he kind of just like, he wasn't on the actual interview, but we were just talking with the guy that before we started, the actual recording process. And the guy was going over some of his paranormal experiences and things like that. And I guess he drives Uber, and he talks to his customers about, different stuff. And he's very not shy about any of the stuff that he's experienced and the things that he's doing. And so in like almost like mid-sentence, he kind of stops and he says to me, "Do you have any shoulder pain?" Now this guy, like he's a very religious guy. Uh-huh. And he goes, "Do you have any shoulder pain?" And I said, "No, I don't have any shoulder pain." And I said, "I have two bad shoulders, but no pain right now." And I started talking to him more. And he's like, "Please don't say anything else. I don't want to know." I'm like, "Okay." And then he said the same thing for my brother. He said, "Jack, do you have any shoulder pain?" And I just kind of looked at my brother, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what's going on here, Uh-huh. And so I looked at Jack, and Jack goes, "Yeah, actually, my right shoulder hurts a lot." And I looked at him, and I was like, huh. Like, I mean, I guess I don't ask my brother, how's your shoulder feeling? So I wouldn't have known. Sure. But he said, "Yeah, it's been hurting." And the guy said, "Well, I would like to pray for you guys, and I believe that God can heal you." And so, like, he asked me about something else. I forget what it was, but I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any pain Saturday, so I was feeling great. But Jack, on the other hand, had some, I guess, pretty severe shoulder pain for the last 5 or 6 months. Oh. And the guy starts praying, and we're sitting there, and he's praying, and like 2-3 minutes into it, he stops and he says, "Do any of you feel a tingling in your shoulder?" And I'm like, "No, I feel like $1 million, man." And I looked over at my brother, and my brother's eyes were like saucers. And he's just staring at me, and he has a stupid grin on his face. And he's like, yeah, I feel tingling in my shoulder. And the guy starts praying again. And then he stops and he says, do any of you feel like your muscles in your shoulder are tightening? And I'm telling you, my brother's eyes were like huge. And he's like, yeah. He's like, my shoulder feels like it's tightening. And the guy continues praying. He's done praying, and he says, how's your shoulder feel? And my brother's raising his arm, and he's like baffled. He's like, my shoulder feels great. This is the first time I'm pain-free in 5 months.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what? I looked at my brother. I'm like, are you serious, dude? Like, are you kidding me? And he's just like, yes. Like, and he was so shocked by it. He was playing with it the whole time in the evening and stuff. You saw him playing with his shoulder. And like the next morning he texts me like, dude, my shoulder feels great still. I'm like, awesome, man.
Wow.
But I mean, I just thought that was amazing, you know?
That's really, really cool. That's powerful stuff, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, crazy stuff. You know, the world we live in is crazy, and there's a lot of,
But it's cool.
you know, I don't know how to explain it.
Right, but I mean, you know, you hear the stories of stuff like that, and sometimes it's really hard to wrap your head around. You know, it's like, oh yeah, because usually you think of that stuff with like, oh, when's the collection plate get rolling around, and who are the actors?
Yeah.
But, you know, but then you know, a situation like that, your brother is you know, someone you trust and know, and you witnessed it, so that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and this guy was on the phone, like I think California or something like that. Like he was either California or Texas. Maybe it was Texas, but he was at least 1,200 miles away from me. I was just like, what the heck? Like, I've never seen anything like that in my life, like in person. Like you talk to people all the time and stuff, but like to actually see that, I'm just like, holy crap.
Right.
And so, you know, I just thought that was maybe a positive, lighter note story for you.
Oh, very, very cool, brother. I appreciate you sharing it here. And yeah, that's incredibly powerful. I love stuff like that because, you know, the paranormal is just so dark and brooding, and, you know, we try to make light of it and have fun with it. But then, you know, things like that happen, and it brings a whole new light to it. You know, like it can be fantastic as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
And especially for my brother, because like he doesn't really deal with the stuff that I deal with. Like, I mean, I have this show and he doesn't even listen to my show, you know, like I think you would think he would listen just to support me. He doesn't listen to my show and nothing like that. So like for it to happen to him, I thought it was pretty cool.
He might be tuning in more regularly now though, huh?
Well, I put him on blast when we did the live show. I muted his mic and I just went in on him for about 5 minutes about how he doesn't listen to my show. Like, Brent, I'm telling you, honest to God truth. He said to me right before we went live, I said to him, look something up on my website, and he goes, what's your website? Theconfessionals.com. I said to him, dude, like I say it every show in the beginning of the show, and I've been doing the show for 2.5 years, and you don't know my website? You're my live show producer. I ripped into him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Calling him out.
Sibling rivalry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least you're on the same team, though. That's a good thing, brother.
Absolutely. Well, Brent, I'll let you get rolling, man. But I just wanted to call in and say hi.
Well, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here and supporting what we're doing as well. And I appreciate you sharing that story.
Yes, sir. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Merkel of the Confessionals podcast. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely do that. He's got a brilliant show and probably one of the greatest intros in the history of podcasts. The whole show is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but his intro is just, I sit there and I'm just like, it's just really well done. Very well done. So he and Wes do have amazing intros to their shows. But very cool. I appreciate all the call-ins tonight. Special thank you to MCAT. Brother, you just humble me all the time. I'm just so honored and thrilled, and I can't thank you enough for that donation. That's really, really, really cool. That's amazing. Thank you so, so much. Wow. All right, so I was in Nevada, heading to Nevada. Let me get a drink here, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind. I just want to look at the clock, too. I don't know where we're at. Excuse me. We're at 51 minutes already. That feels like I just started the show 2 minutes ago. Now, I know the show always goes fast, but my God, that's craziness. All right, let me read to you the story from Nevada, or the encounter, or whatever it is, but it has to do with the possessed cat. So I'm looking forward to this one, because I swear to God, sometimes Anubis is possessed. He's an adult cat, but he just, like, every once in a while he'll be laying down, all of a sudden his ears go back and he gets that little freaky cat look, and then he's tearing around the house, and then you'll be walking through the house and he's like stalking us. I could be walking to the kitchen to bring the water bottle out, it's empty or whatever, and all of a sudden I get this little fur paw coming out, bolting out from behind the couch, latching onto my leg, like, God, you little mutant. So let's see what this story is all about. So I'm going to start from the beginning, because I kind of got into it a little bit. I'm about to tell you something that happened, which I believe to be my very first ghost experience. It happened about 2 weeks after I started third grade, and will always be part of my memory. The day had started out abnormal in itself. I'd been feeling strangely suffocated, as if I was in a huge crowd, even through my house. Even though my house was never stuffy, and neither was the school, since it was really newly built. And not only did I feel suffocated, but my mind had felt empty in itself, and as if some veil had been covering it from within, but nothing special seemed to happen the night before. It was only after school that I noticed some strange things. A dog I could only see through my right eye, glimpses of people never seen before from the corner of my eye, and everything seemed like there was a new world now. The only thing that I felt mainly odd was that I could only catch these glimpses through my right eye. Even when I turned around from feeling a presence, I wouldn't notice exactly when it was until I saw it from the right side. About an hour before dinner, me and my little brother Spencer were having a drawing contest in the dining room while our parents watched TV in the living room, and we had a dog named Toya, Toya, and a cat named Shadow. Well, me and Spencer were drawing monsters. We both heard scurrying paws and clacking nails on the floor in the direction of the kitchen, but when we looked there was nothing there. We searched around for Shadow to see if it was her, even shouted for our parents to help, but the second we shouted, one of the dining room tables moved a few feet. One of the dining room tables? Or a chair, I don't know. But anyway, they said tables. So now our dog was outside playing with the quail in the backyard, and our parents had just yelled back saying Shadow was on our dad's lap. So me and Spencer panicked and ran over to our parents saying something was in the kitchen. Our mom came with us back and searched for whatever it was, but didn't find anything, except me, who had been catching glimpses of something dark in the corner of my eye every so often in the corner of areas. Normally I'd think it was just shadows, but they seemed denser and more mobile than a shadow would be in mid-afternoon, and after a bit of searching, we gave up and headed to the living room to watch TV while Dad cooked. Later that night after dinner, Shadow had been sleeping on my lap, as I watched some cartoons, and every once in a while, there were sounds of purring and mewing that I heard coming from nearby, but not from my cat. Soon after the purrs and mews, they slowly turned to hisses and yowls coming from behind me. The only thing that kept me from jumping off the chair and running to my dad was the fact that everyone in the house was with me, but they never heard anything. My brother had been asleep on the couch as well. Finally heading to bed, and me and Spencer started talking about what the chair could have been, so I guess it was a chair, joking that it was one of our drawings coming to life and jumping back into the paper. But when I told him about the hissing and yowling, Spencer seemed almost too scared to turn off the lights in the room to finally go to sleep. At last, we were forced into bed, and our dad shut off the light. I wasn't able to sleep, though, not because of the previous encounter, but because I was thinking about how cramped it seemed, as if I was supposed to make room for someone. I scooted towards the wall side of my bed, and after hours, I had finally gotten to the point where I was dozing off, but one thing stopped me from falling asleep. It was purring. Even though I knew it was Shadow under Spencer's bed, I felt uneasy about the purring. It was louder than usual, and suddenly my heart jumped at the sound of gargling and snarling, a sound that seemed as if my cat had been choked and force-fed something at the same time. I jolted up to see what was wrong with Shadow, but immediately regretted it as I was stared at my black cat's glaring green eyes and her bared fangs as she hissed and snarled at me. She was still at the foot of my brother's bed, though, which was the opposite side of the room, but all I could do was stare. Suddenly the cat leapt at my bed and bore her claws, and my reaction was to grab my pillow and cover myself with it. All I knew to do was scream and yell as my cat slashed and tore at the pillow, trying to get through it to get to me. Even though I was being attacked, I was unable to strike back and defend myself, for it was my dearest friend in the world. After a few minutes of yelling, I heard footsteps come into the door. My dad burst in, turned on the lights, and the second the lights turned on, everything stopped. My cat suddenly collapsed, and I noticed Spencer sitting up in horror, staring at the now limp cat. I've never been so scared, and apparently our cat had never done anything even remotely close to showing any signs of anger in the past. At least, that's what I'm told. I still have a scar from where her claws dug into my arms from a lucky strike. And the reason I say this is a ghost experience is because I believe my cat was possessed. The moment the lights turned on, I had caught a peculiar sight of what seemed like a dark mist seeping out of Shadow's fur. It seemed more than the imagination, though. The mist seemed to hover over her body before fading into the light, which had been on for at least 45 seconds throughout the scene. Ooh, that's creepy. Yeah, you don't want a possessed cat. So, I don't know. I guess that's going to be the show. It's 58 minutes and even plus some. But I hope you guys had a great time. I really enjoyed tonight's show. Not only because MCAT, you're just such a selfless and kind person. Thank you so much for that. But just because I love all the participation. I love when you guys take part in the shows and call in, and and I even love Merkel's urinal joke. That was hilarious. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great tomorrow. And please, if you haven't already, check out the podcast. Spread the word about the portal. Spread the word about the podcast. Spread the word about the YouTube. Spread the word about the Facebook. And you can follow us on Facebook if you're not already by going to facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. And follow our Twitter, too. I don't know how many is on there. Twitter changed the look of everything. I don't know what the hell's going on over there now, but I still can post and share. I always share Wes's post because I just figure he's so busy on there. I'll just grab what he does and retweet it. And it's always great articles and great information. So, but anyway, I hope you guys are doing wonderfully. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow night for another Bedtime Stories romp through the paranormal. And I hope you'll be here with me. So I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Take care, everybody. Have a great night and sweet dreams.